Hey, what's going on here, movers? Hopefully this video comes through. It's not often that I do a live through my computer. It's usually on my phone. But anyway, we're going forward with it here. And today we're going to be talking about a popular topic, especially this time of year. At the time of filming this is January 3rd, 2021. And we, of course, are talking about detox. Okay, we want to understand what a detox is, why you might want to consider detoxing, and then how you can go through a successful detox. And the first question that you're probably wondering is, what does this have to do with golf? What does this have to do with my performance on and off the golf course? And the truth is, it has a lot to do with everything. See, we are only as good as the cells that are inside of us. The old saying, we are what we eat, that came from an old saying, which is tell me what you eat and I'll tell you what you're made of. And that's because all of our individual cells, they're all made from the ingredients that we put inside our body. And sometimes the ingredients we put in our body are intentional and sometimes they're not. And what we're talking about with the detox is how do we remove the unintentional toxins that are plaguing our body and instead only have the good stuff inside of us. And so there's kind of two things going on here. And one is putting good in, and the other is preventing bad from going in. But like we said, at the end of the day, there's a lot of times where toxins are going to come into your body no matter how hard you try. And they can come in many different forms. Whether we're talking about the pollution that comes out of cars, if you live in a city, you're probably breathing bad air. Whether we're talking about poor nutritional choices, where now you're taking in, say, antibiotics and growth hormones and just the toxicity of eating a sick animal or a poorly grown, genetically modified crop, something like that. Okay, and then there's also things like social toxins, which are the people that you associate yourself with and how they might affect the thoughts that go on in your head and the actions that you therefore take because of that association. And so at the end of the day, anything that is not serving us to perform better, we need to detox. We need to remove from our body so that what we're left with is just the good stuff. Okay. Now, let's start with what the detox is, because it's important to understand how to properly detox. And there's a lot of different things out on the market claiming to be a detox. You can buy detox drinks and detox juices and detox pills and everything like that. And their goal is to, of course, remove the bad things. But we want to understand one really important thing, which is your body already knows how to detox. You don't need to go out and buy new drinks or supplements or anything like that. In a little bit, we'll talk about how that could benefit you, but just know that your body has an incredible detox system built into it already. And this is really important. Okay. This is the same reason why if you get a paper cut, it heals itself. Okay. Your body is constantly trying to heal itself. But in the case of detoxing, if your body is trying to remove bad things, it may take that as a priority over putting good things in repairing and healing. Okay, this is why if you have, say, alcohol poisoning, they're going to remove the alcohol from your body before doing a treatment. You got to get the bad stuff out before you can put the good stuff in. And that's kind of our first part here. So this system that your body already has, this detox system, is known as autophagy. Okay. Autophagy is your body's natural self-cleaning process. And there's autophagy happening at various points throughout the day, but the most common times where your body will go through autophagy are during deep sleep, and on an empty stomach. Let's say we're doing a fasting or like right after exercise. Okay. These are all great times when your body is scrubbing up. And so there's an author, um, what is her, Naomi Whittle. She wrote a book called Glow 15. And in that book, she describes autophagy like this. And I think this is important to understand. Let's say you're in the kitchen and you're cooking this big meal. Okay, you do all your food prep, you do all your cooking, you do all your cleaning, and at the end of that session, you have usable food that you can store away from later for later. But you're also left with this big mess. Okay, the kitchen's dirty, there's stuff on the floor, you need to wipe things down. Well, autophagy is doing the cleaning part. It's going in and wiping down the counters, it's throwing away the food that you aren't going to use, it's all that. And when we're younger and when we're healthier, when we have more energy, we do a pretty good job of cleaning up the kitchen so that we have usable food, and the next day we can do the same thing. But as we get older, particularly if we haven't done a good job cleaning our kitchen in the past, what happens is little films and residues and food particles and toxins, they add up. If you don't clean them all that first session, there's going to be a little bit plus what you add to it. And then there's still some plus what you add to it. And a lot of us, we get weighed down in terms of how much energy that we have, in terms of how healthy we feel, because we don't do a good job cleaning up, that detoxing, that autophagy. So our goal here is to induce autophagy so that we can clean our system up. But again, at the same time, we want to induce autophagy while removing the toxins that we've been adding in the first place. And this is really important because let's just say, for example, you're, let's say, out of shape, overweight, you don't work out very much, you've had a poor diet for years. If you just jump into, say, an exercise routine, what's going to happen is because all those toxins, a lot of them are stored in your fat and they're stored in your tissues. As soon as you start to sweat and as soon as you start to burn those calories and that fat, you're going to release those toxins, and it's going to be detrimental because now you have toxic things that rather than being stored up in a cell are now out there being released, and that could cause headaches, that could cause inflammation, that could be causing nausea, all these things, which is a big barrier for a lot of us who are trying to work out, is we don't want to work out because it makes us feel sick. The reason we feel sick is not the working out, it's because we're burning the crap that's been stored in our body from years of not working out. Okay, so this is why it becomes so important to work on removing those toxins while adding the good stuff. So what are the main benefits of autophagy? What are the main benefits of a detox? Well, I have a few listed out here. And the first one is controlling inflammation. Now, we've probably all heard that inflammation is the root of a lot of chronic disease. And that's not to say inflammation is bad. Inflammation is a very natural thing that happens when we get injured and we need to repair ourselves. We inflame the area so that our body can heal itself. But it's chronic inflammation or inflammation that happens all the time. That's when we get into trouble and we need to control that. And going through autophagy, going through a detox process allows some of our systems to remove that inflammation, make them a little bit healthier. Number two, slows down aging. Okay, when we have toxins in our body, it causes our cells to wear down quicker. It causes them to wear out and need replacing quicker. Okay, and this causes aging. Okay, if you were to spend all day out in the sun every day being exposed to UV lights without eating the proper foods to protect your body or wearing the appropriate blocking screens and oils to keep the UV out, you'll eventually wear through your skin. Your skin gets old, it loses its elasticity and its collagen and its health, and that's aging. Okay, and that happens on the outside, like with our skin in the sun, but it also happens on the inside, which is really important. Number three, we want to protect against neurodegenerative diseases. Okay, neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's are when our cells, particularly the neurons in our brain, start to break down. Just like what we were talking about with our skin and the sun, the same thing happens on the inside of our body, particularly in our brain. Our brain only takes up 2% of our total body weight, but it uses almost 30% of the calories that we take in. So our brain, pound for pound, is the most hungry resource that we need to feed. It takes an incredible amount of energy. So if you're ever tired or feeling brain fog or anything like that, it's probably because your brain is not getting enough fuel. And even if it is getting enough fuel, if it has a lot of toxins that it needs to remove, now it can't do its job. So when you can protect things like your brain and the cells inside your brain, you will protect yourself from neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, which is being called type 3 diabetes because of its correlation to the foods that we eat. Next up, we're talking about supporting your immunity because like your natural detoxification process, the lymphatic system and all these things that your body already has built into it, We also have an immune system, and that protects us against diseases. And it needs to be sharp and healthy to be able to fight off these things that are coming in. If you're a healthy person and you're exposed to some germs, your body will combat it really easily. You might not even know that you were exposed to those germs. But if your immune system is compromised and you're having a hard time fighting it, you're probably going to get sick because your immune system is low. And your immune system is usually low because you're fighting toxins. One of the most common things is sugar. And even something as small as a tablespoon of sugar can suppress your immune system for several hours after ingesting it. So that's something to consider next time you want to have a sweet treat before bed is, yeah, and calorically, maybe it's only 100 to 200 calories. It's not going to throw off your day in that regard. But what is it going to do downstream? Because now your body has to remove all those toxins, etc., etc. Next up, increasing longevity, how long you can live. Obviously, the healthier your cells are, the more efficient that your body can use energy and perform tasks, the longer you're going to live. The more quickly that you wear down your cells and your systems, the quicker they're going to wear out, and you're probably not going to live as long. So super important that we've removed bad stuff and fuel in the good stuff so that you can live longer, because living longer is great if you have a higher quality of life. Nobody wants to have a very long life with very low quality. We want high quality with a long life. Okay. So put good in and remove the bad out. And finally, we have overall improves cell quality. And I think that's the underlying theme behind all of these different benefits from going through a detox, is that your cells are healthier. And that's going to improve absolutely everything that you do on or off the course, regardless of what system we're talking about. The healthier your cells are, the healthier you are. So those are all the reasons why we want to detox. But the question is still out there, well, how do we detox? Okay. And like we were talking about, you could go out and buy a fancy drink or some supplements or things like that, but it's not the full picture. So we want to understand what the full picture does look like. And a lot of it is going to be about what we put into our bodies or how we use our bodies. Number one, coming in, how do we detox? Number one, high fat, low carb diet. Okay, the main reason here is to reduce sugar and blood sugar spikes. Okay, we want to have a high fat diet because fat does not affect your body's release of insulin and affect your blood sugar levels. You can stay in a fasted state while eating a high fat diet. Okay, we want to reduce the carbs because carbs can very easily be turned into sugar. In fact, that's what a carb is. A carb is a complex chain of sugars. So if you eat, say, a croissant in the morning, that croissant is going to turn to a couple of tablespoons of sugar by the time it hits your intestines, your GI tract, and starts to break down. Fat's not going to do that. So when we talk about fat, it's really important that you understand that we're talking about quality fat, okay? Not just any old fat, because eating the wrong fats will be more toxic to your body almost than anything, okay? And examples of really toxic fats are trans fats, which are artificial fats. They're made in a laboratory. They were made back when the US, when they were doing their standard American diet, how do we eat, the food pyramid, that whole thing. They took fat out of the equation because they thought eating fat makes you fat and it causes heart disease. So instead, they've removed the fat, and that made food taste bad. So they had to add sugar. Okay, now that all aside, that's where trans fats came from. But trans fats, just mind you, are pretty bad for your body. They're not far off, molecularly speaking, than plastic. Okay, and plastic is going to disrupt your hormones and all sorts of other things. So eat high quality fats. High quality fats are typically saturated fat, things like avocado and coconut oil or avocado oil, or animal protein, assuming that the animal was a healthy animal. Okay, and that's really important to understand, because eating the fat of an industrial raised, mass produced sick animal is going to make you sick. So whether it's a cow, a pig, a chicken, it doesn't matter. If it was not raised the right way, you should avoid eating it, because that fat is going to make you sick. It's full of antibiotics, it's full of growth hormones, it's full of all these things that we don't want. If you eat a sick animal or a sick plant, you will become sick. So always look for high quality. Avocados, again, some of my favorites, whether it's a whole avocado that you're putting into a smoothie or chopping onto a salad, whether it's avocado oil that you're making a salad dressing with or using to cook, really good options. Olive oil, coconut oil, grass-fed butter or ghee. Those are amazing fats. Get your fish oils, your krill oils, everything like that, and avoid the more iffy, we'll call them suspect fats, which could come from things like seeds, like sunflower oil or safflower oil, grapeseed oil, things like that, because some people react a little bit differently when they're eating seed and plant oils, depending on the plant, of course. And that's kind of where we're talking about saturated fat versus unsaturated fat. Not a big deal. Just think of it this way. At room temperature, saturated fats are going to be solid. That's your avocado. That's going to be coconut oil. That's going to be animal product. And then there's unsaturated fat, which is liquid at room temperature. Okay. And that's going to be your canola oil, safflower oil, peanut oil. The list goes on and on. Put good fats in as many as you can, particularly because what we said, your brain is 2% of your weight, but it uses 30% of your calories. And most of your brain is made up of fat and water. So eat a lot of fat and drink a lot of water. Okay. And well, reducing the sugar. Number 2 is going to be a protein fast. Okay. So we just talked about how we want to improve and raise the level of high quality fats that we're eating while reducing our sugar intake. And that's why once a week, the research suggests that you should go on a protein fast, which is eating no more than 15 to 25 grams of protein in a single day. And that's because it's a little bit more complex, but protein can still be converted into sugar. And by removing the protein from your diet for just a day, it creates that space that your body needs to go into autophagy to scrub itself out and clean, because it works best on an empty stomach, which is usually why intermittent fasting or skipping breakfast is a great way to induce autophagy, as well as post-exercise, like we were talking about, or getting deep restorative sleep. Okay. Number 3 is intermittent fasting. And so something as simple as skipping your breakfast when you wake up just gives your body more time to clean itself out, because certain processes only happen when we're empty or sleeping or both, and autophagy is one of them. So we want to set ourselves up for success. Eat these good foods, eat a high fat diet, reduce the sugar once a week, reduce your protein while keeping the fats high, then start skipping breakfast. Now, again, with skipping breakfast, the thing to understand is that you can stay in a fasted state while eating fat, as long as you don't have the protein or the carbohydrate to trigger you out of that fasting state. So for example, where it's before noon, I haven't had breakfast, I'm not going to have lunch for a while, but I do have a coffee that I made that is high in grass-fed ghee and MCT oil, C8 MCT oil. And what it allows me to do is drink energy without breaking my fast. So my body thinks that it's still in a fasted state, yet I'm getting high quality fats to fuel my body, fuel my brain, and I'm not hungry because of it. Next up, number 4, everybody's favorite, exercise. We got to move our body. And the research shows that any movement is good movement. Okay. There was a research study done that looked at autophagy and looked at does it matter if the group they looked at took people and put them into 2 blocks of cyclists. And one group, they just had the cyclists ride for distance, and the other group did high intensity interval training where they went high intense rest, and the other group was just steady biking. And what they found was, from a perspective of autophagy, of detoxing our system, they both work. You just got to move your body. And part of that is due to something called our lymphatic system, which is our natural part of our natural detoxification system. And it works best when our body's moving, when our muscles are grooving, because our muscles, when they contract, they do something like this and they massage and move fluids out of our lymphatic system that doesn't happen when we're not moving. So any kind of movement is going to be great. If we're looking also to combine the effects of, say, fat loss, then sure, high intensity interval training is going to outperform long duration endurance training. But just note, for a detoxification purpose, either of them is going to work. Now, last up, we have restorative sleep. Restorative sleep is one of the most important things that we can do to detox our body, especially when we're talking about autophagy, because it happens in our deep sleep states. Okay. When we talk about REM sleep, when we talk about deep sleep, one of them is going to restore our body in its physical nature. It's going to restore the energy that we have. It's going to help repair and build tissues. And the other one is going to help clean out the brain, which is why it's so important to have both REM sleep and deep sleep. And to, if you can, measure your sleep, understand how much sleep you're getting, what the quality is, and the things that go into affecting your sleep. Super important. Having a very dark room, having a room that's a little bit colder than it might be than, say, during the day. And then having few interruptions throughout the night that are going to be waking you up. Having good, high quality sleep is one of the most important things that you can do for overall health and performance. It helps the detoxification process. It helps with fat loss. It helps with energy recovery and muscle restoration. I mean, you name it. There's a reason why when you have a really good night's sleep, you wake up just feeling so amazing, because you finally gave your body the chance that it needed to do the things that it's always trying to do, but sometimes it doesn't have the ability to do. Okay, so in the end, what we want to understand is that detoxification is a natural process that happens in every single one of us. What we want to do is look at our life and what's going on in our world and say, what's helping me and what's hurting me. The number one most important thing is, to the best of your ability, stop putting bad in, whether it's food, whether it's environmental, whether it's the people you surround yourself with. Removing the toxins from your life makes it easier for your body to detox. Then once you've started the process of removing some of these toxins, or at least minimizing them, then we can start the natural detoxification process and have it actually work. Okay, because it's no longer trying to detox and fight the stuff that's coming in new. The new stuff's not coming in. So now it can do its job. And slowly but surely, over time, you're going to feel absolutely incredible. So stop putting the bad in so that you can start taking the good out. And you're going to take the good out by prioritizing a high fat and low carb diet, by protein fasting once a week, 15 to 25 grams, which is not very much. Intermittent fast in the mornings, give your body a little bit longer to detox itself. Exercise regularly every day. For this purpose, it doesn't matter how you do it, just get moving. And lastly, sleep like it's your job. And if you do those things, I promise you, you will feel better, because you will have fewer bad things going in. You'll be removing all the bad things. You'll be putting only good things in. And now all of a sudden, you are operating at a state of peak performance. You're going to feel better. You're going to move better. You're going to play better.